Evan, it's Dr. J here in the house. How we doing, man? How's your Monday?
Happy Monday to you, man. I'm back on the grind. I took last week off. I told you it was crazy, like working so hard and then just coming to a standstill. It was difficult for me. Now, once I got to the end of the week, I started to relax. But man, I tell you, vacations are not my favorite thing. Maybe I just have a wrong mentality towards them.
Yeah, I mean, when you have jobs like we do, where you really, really enjoy it, it's fun to be living on purpose and helping people.
Yep, agreed.
Totally.
Well, you came up with a great topic idea, which is all about collagen. And I mean, I can't tell you how many women, when I'm asking them about their supplements, like random women that may or may not know anything about health or functional medicine, somehow they discovered collagen and they're taking it as a supplement. But before we get into maybe supplemental uses of it, you and I were doing a bit of research and wanted to fill in kind of some backstory on collagen, educate people about what it is and where it comes from and how do you lose collagen, what affects collagen, things even in your gut, vitamin deficiencies. I mean, this is some cool stuff. So let's dig in.
Yeah, absolutely. So collagen is important. One of my favorite amino acids that I love to supplement at least once, even twice a day. I typically do it in the morning in my coffee, and I do it at night with some magnesium citrate powder. I love it. We typically get exposure to collagen amino acids in the environment through connective tissue support. So like bone broths, where we get the full bone and the collagen and the ligamentous tendon and the hide of the skin of the animal. So most of the time, we're just not getting that exposure these days because we're just eating muscle meat. And most of the time, it's even skinless. And we're not doing it in a broth form. We're not doing any soup. So we're not getting a lot of the marrow, the ligaments, the tendon, the cartilage, amino acids. So we're not getting those amino acid exposure that we typically would get from muscle meat. So it's really important that we get these amino acids. And if we're not doing these soups and broths, then we have to make sure we get some type of collagen supplement. That's why I formulated a product called True Collagen, where I sourced it from Argentinian kind of grass-fed cows. And we use proteolytic enzymes. We dump the proteolytic enzymes on the tissue, on the hide, on the ligament tendon to break it down into a powder form. That way it breaks down in water or coffee or tea or soup. So huge fan of that because we're just not getting enough of those type of proteins in our diet.
That's amazing. So I'm just reading a little bit about hydrolyzed collagen, which is what you have in your product. And hydrolyzed collagen contains 19 amino acids. And so these are things like glycine, proline, glutamic acid, arginine, alanine, and other essential amino acids, and some non essential amino acids. Maybe before we get into like deficiencies and cortisol and stuff like that, maybe let's just chat about amino acids and how important they are for manufacturing neurotransmitters. I mean, you've got so many people with mood issues, depression being number one leading cause of disability. I believe anxiety, actually, I just saw a report about that. I don't know if you saw it. Anxiety is actually topping depression now as the leading cause of disability in the world by the Center of Disease Control. So anxiety, depression, those are highly linked to amino acid deficiencies, which I'm not going to say collagen is going to cure you, but it can replenish these amino acids that you need to manufacture brain chemicals.
Yeah, and if you look at the top 10 essential amino acids, these are amino acids that your body cannot make. Arginine, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, which is a precursor to tyrosine, threonine, tryptophan, which is a precursor to 5-HTP, which is serotonin, and then valine or valine. So these are all important amino acids. We cannot get them from our food. We cannot get them from our body. Our body cannot make them. We have to get them from our food. Now, when we go cross-reference that with some of the collagen from, or some of the amino acids that are actually in collagen, it's a little bit different. Glycine, proline, alanine, and hydroxyproline are the big ones. Glycine is really important because that's actually an amino acid that we use to make glutathione. So the more toxic load we're going to have, the more our bodies can actually take glycine and burn it up and to make glutathione. So that's really important. Proline and alanine and hydroxyproline, really, really important for that dermal layer, right? The dermal layer. So we have the epidermis, that's the outer part of the skin that you see. The second layer is the dermis. And we have all these collagen fibers that kind of make a network throughout that dermis layer. And think about the tighter that collagen matrix is, the better and the better skin integrity you're going to have. It's going to be smoother, it's going to be clearer. And then the more you start to have sags in that collagen matrix, that's kind of wrinkles and just skin that's not going to be that youthful integrity. So we want to make sure we have that nice, strong collagen matrix. Now, we can whip that collagen into shape using laser or microneedling therapies, right? Of course, things like oxidative stressors like smoking and toxicity and excess sun, right, can also break it down. But we also can provide building blocks. Vitamin C is really important because that's a really important building block to making that collagen, but also the amino acids that I mentioned, which are found in the connective tissue. And we like to use a lot of type 1 and type 3 collagen sources. And I'll go into that in a bit.
Yeah, the interesting thing about collagen, the only amino acid that's essential that it does not contain is tryptophan. And we use tryptophan a lot supplementally, and especially 5-hydroxytryptophan, 5-HTP, really, really helpful for people with mood issues. So anxiety and depression and all that, it makes sense why I've had clients to say, oh, I've been supplementing collagen, but I still have these mood issues. So you can still replenish other neurotransmitters, but you're not getting tryptophan from collagen, and interestingly enough. So if you do have mood issues, you may need collagen plus 5-HTP. And you brought up the vitamin C. So I'll take that a little bit further in terms of testing. Between Justin and I both, we've probably looked at, I don't know, maybe 3,000, 4,000, who knows how many organic acids tests. This is a urine sample that we run on every new client. And you can actually measure vitamin C on this urine sample. And I would say, and Justin, tell me if your statistics are different, but I would say about 80%, if not more people, have a deficiency or even no vitamin C, where it's completely bottomed out. And as you just mentioned, you have to have vitamin C as a cofactor to build collagen. So if your skin looks like crap and your vitamin C is burned out, you've got some explanation on the data.
Exactly. Now, oxidation is important. Oxidation is when you lose electrons. So if you put a rusty nail outside and it gets rusty, that's oxidation. The steel or the metal that makes up that nail loses electrons, hence the rusting. Or if you cut an apple in your house and you let the apple brown, that is oxidation. Now you can get some lemon juice, put it on it. The lemon juice is very high in vitamin C, which then prevents the apple from browning. Why? Because it's an antioxidant. It's giving up electrons to stabilize the loss of electrons from the oxidation process. So that's why we like vitamin C's are really good adrenal support, because a lot of adrenal stress creates oxidation. Obviously, your adrenals use vitamin C as a kind of a cofactor for adrenal support to make some of the adrenal hormones from a nutritional perspective, kind of like the thyroid uses selenium, so to speak. The adrenals like vitamin C. And then oxidation, we can have oxidation stress just from emotional stress. We can have it from poor sleep. We can have it from nutrient deficiencies. We can have it from pesticides in the environment. Of course, smoking is one of the most notorious ones, right? Smoking creates oxidation. The oxidation decreases vitamin C stores. Lack of vitamin C is going to be inability to make and to create your own collagen matrix in your body. So then you start to have these weakened nets underneath your skin, which then allow certain parts to sag, and just wrinkles and just that accelerated aging look starts to occur. So of course, we want to, number one, decrease the oxidative stressors that are affecting our skin: pesticides, smoking, excess of sun, sleep, nutritional issues. We want to supplement the good nutrition on the vitamin C side, and then also the building blocks, because the more stressed we are, the more we're going to break down amino acids. So get the really good extra collagen amino acids. And this is more important, especially if you're not eating the skin on the animals that you're eating and you're not making soups or doing broth. And it's even more important because you're just not getting exposed to those amino acids.
Yep, well said. So there's the answer. If you've been wondering all these years why when you look at a smoker, their skin looks so terrible and they look 20 years older than everybody around them who's not smoking, there's your answer. And let's talk about the gut a bit, because we were doing some research and there's an enzyme called collagenase. And collagenase is an enzyme that inhibits collagen synthesis. And guess what? Turns out there are gut bacteria, including H. pylori. I just found a literature piece here. I'll put it in the chat for you, Justin. It's about H. pylori being a type of infection that can cause the secretion of this collagenase. And when this enzyme gets produced, all of a sudden now you aren't making collagen. So are we going to say, hey, that your wrinkles are caused directly from H. pylori? No, there's probably multiple factors, but the truth is gut bugs. So bacteria, viruses, H. pylori being a big one. I didn't see anything about parasites, but I'm just going to assume, even if it wasn't affecting that collagenase. We already know, based on what happened to me with my weight loss and based on what we've seen with 1,000+ clients, is that parasites can steal your nutrients and cause your amino acids to go low. And you can also measure amino acids on organic acids testing too, which is why we love it, because if we see that someone has digestive problems like gut bugs, a lot of the time those amino acids will show low. And then we know something's off with their brain, their skin, their mood, their sleep, sex drive. It could all be affected.
100%, 100%. Now, regarding what the next steps are, right? You also talked about the gut. Now, I mentioned glycine, which is one of the main amino acids in collagen, is going to be used for glutathione, which is a powerful detoxifying antioxidant, because any toxin puts oxidative stress on your body. Number two, glycine is really important for the enterocytes to be nice and strong within the gut lining. So glycine is really, really important. That's partly why the GAPS diet has a strong emphasis on bone broth and soups, because you can get a lot of the nutrients pulled from the skin, tendon, ligament, bone into the soup, into the broth, and then you can drink that. And that has a really good healing, anti-inflammatory effect on the gut lining. So glycine is also important just because, like, you have this collagen matrix that builds up the dermis, which is the layer just beneath your skin. We also have these collagen peptides that are really important for building the enterocytes within the gut lining as well. So it's not just your skin, not just your tendons and bones for joint health, it's also your healthy gut.
That's amazing. So you're literally healing from the inside out.
Correct.
It doesn't get any
100%.
better. And of course, we're not doing just that. Like a leaky gut protocol, we've got several different custom formulations that we're using. But it sounds like, based on what you're saying here, we would definitely want to have collagen in as a post-infection protocol for best results.
Correct. And there's if you go look, there's lots of different like collagen types. The most common ones are the 1 and 3. Those are the ones that I use in my True Collagen. The difference with my True Collagen compared to most use sulfuric acid as an emulsifier to break down the amino acids into peptide form. I use proteolytic enzymes. So that process costs a little bit more for the proteolytic enzymes. And then we source it from Argentinian grass-fed cows. We do not get a certified organic label on it. That just costs too much, but we just use farmers that basically are adhering to those standards, but aren't paying the extra money for the certification.
That's
and then again, we're using the type 1 and type 3. Type 1 is skin, tendon, vasculature, organ, bone, and it makes up the major organic part of the bone. And then we have type 3, which is basically, it's found alongside type 1. These are the reticular fibers, okay? Reticular fibers, that big network that interweaves between everything to strengthen it up, gives it good scaffolding. So type 1 and type 3. You'll see some of the neocell collagen will have some of the type 2, right?
Yeah, I've had samples of that one. It tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with neocell, a lot of it comes from Tyson farm chickens.
That sucks.
So
I figured it wasn't quality because, put it this way, if it were quality, like pastured animals, they would advertise it. Hey, it's from pastured animals, right?
Correct. So it comes from the neocell tends to come more from the Tyson farm chickens. And number two, it doesn't blend as well. I mean, if you put it in your coffee or tea, it has a noticeable flavor for me that disrupts the enjoyment of my coffee or tea. Where if you use a really good proteolytic collagen, it has no flavor at all, and it almost acts like a creamer. So I love it because one, that's my creamer. And then number two, it provides the extra amino acids. So if I have someone who's just not hungry at all, who doesn't really want to eat much in the morning, but they love their coffee or tea, well, we can at least put a scoop of collagen in there, get 12 to 15 grams of collagen, and they at least get some good amino acids and nutrients in their gut. And also it provides support for the gut lining too, which is great.
Yeah,
and
well
most
said.
people aren't getting exposed to it. Even people that are paleo, unless they're doing bone broth, right, or doing bone marrow, they're just not getting exposed to it.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about that, I thought, man, this would be a perfect intervention if we were trying to get someone from a vegan or a vegetarian template and trying to get them more over to a whole foods, animal-based products diet. I think collagen would be a good first step. Like, hey, look, I understand you don't want to eat eggs. I understand you don't want to eat meat. Okay, let's start you out with this simple white powder. You're never going to know what it was. It's collagen, tons of amino acids. And by the time they feel better from it, then maybe they'd be convinced to stop being a vegan or a vegetarian. mood, skin, things like that are better, because we've had a lot of vegetarian vegans with skin issues, probably due to the malabsorption, because they're doing so many beans and grains and stuff that their guts messed up. But
I have a
yeah,
lot of vegans and vegetarians that I at least coerce them to being able to do some of the collagen peptides.
yeah.
I try to coerce them at doing at least a little bit of egg yolk if tolerated, and potentially even a little bit of fish. So I'm able to kind of push them in that direction. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the vegetarian protein sources, they aren't rich in sulfur amino acids, and they tend to have a whole bunch of anti-nutrients bound up to them. So if there's any digestion issues, that can be, make it really hard to extract a lot of those nutrients. Not to mention, I think this is really, really important, that lots and lots of people, they don't have, let's just say it like this, they don't have the ability to break them down as much, but they also tend to have a lot more carbohydrate in their food. So the more carbohydrate you have in your food, the greater chance of insulin resistance. The increased insulin resistance, the higher your blood sugar gets. That creates advanced glycation end products, because the sugar is coating all those proteins up, because your body can't pull it into the bloodstream as well. So it increases the blood levels of glucose, which then creates more oxidative stress. Advanced glycation end products ages you partly because of that oxidative stress mechanism.
Yep. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention. Oh, yes. Cortisol. Let's talk about cortisol. You mentioned adrenal stress and how that can deplete vitamin C, which is a cofactor for collagen synthesis. But cortisol in itself is going to be catabolic. So cortisol can cause leaky gut issues because it can break down that gut barrier. But then let's talk about that a bit more. Cortisol can be affecting your skin, your gut lining. I mean, it's pretty much the anti-bone broth, if I could call it that.
100%. I think you made some valid points. And again, if you're seeing hair loss, part of, I think, the mechanism for hair loss with a lot of these infections is, number one, you're malabsorbing a lot of these nutrients. And number two, I would also say there could be potential thyroid issues, right? Because if you have infections, there could be thyroid issues, and you need thyroid hormone to help follicle growth as well. So low thyroid hormone could easily be part of why that follicle is atrophying and the hair is falling out.
Well, what anemia is too. I mean, that would be a whole nother podcast, but ferritin is a common thing we'll see that's low.
B vitamins, B12 for sure.
Yeah. So there are anemias and there are gut infections too. I mean, with you mentioned thyroid, Hashimoto's. I mean, that could be a gut issue that's like H. pylori that's triggering autoimmunity of some sort, and then the collagen gets affected, then the skin's affected. I mean, everything's connected. That's why it's funny, because we start out on one topic and then we always go back to the other topics we discuss, because you cannot separate these things.
Yeah. And I love collagen because it provides the mechanism for skin, the cosmetic aesthetic aspect. It also provides support on the gut aspect. And then it also provides support on the detox aspect. So many, many sides of it. Think of collagen as the scaffolding, and all of the various osteoblasts and fibroblasts that are growing around it. That's the scaffolding that keeps it in place, right? Just like you need scaffolding around a building so the builders can maneuver their way up the building to put all of the rods and steel and glass and cement in place. Think of the collagen as that scaffolding that provides that strong foundation for your other building block cells to do what they need to do.
Makes you wonder, I mean, how often and how much collagen our ancestors were getting. I mean, many people joke at us as humans eating muscle meat and say that our ancestors, that was like the last thing that they went for. Have you heard talks about that? Like that muscle meat was basically the least important part of the animal when they killed it?
There's a Nova documentary out there, and they talked about kind of the evolution of the human brain. And basically you had this kind of divergence of Homo gaster and Cro-Magnon. And Cro-Magnon kind of went extinct, didn't quite get that higher brain, but Homo gaster developed a stronger brain. Now, how it first developed that stronger brain, at first it was able to create what's called the hand axe. It's basically a hand, it's just something that you can just grab with your hand, and it's just a rock that came to a wedge. So what they were able to do with the hand axe, they were able to take long bones and break the long bones open and start scraping out the marrow within the bone. And more than likely within that marrow, there's going to be a lot of collagen aminos because they're scraping that inside of the bone out. Those amino acids cause the brain to grow at a faster rate than these other humans that were around. And that higher brain power allowed them to then create weapons where they could then kill animals from further away, up in a tree with a spear or a bow and arrow. Therefore, they were less likely to be injured or hurt or killed. So it was the higher brain function from certain nutrients, better weaponry, also being able to access the omega-3 fatty acids from the fish. These nutrients skyrocketed the human brain, where in a relatively short period of a couple 100,000 years, the brain grew very fast.
Yeah, I think they said it doubled in that time frame.
Yep. And that's kind of, why we are where we're at today. And that's part of the reason why human species, like a lot of humans, or not like a lot of other species, right? Animal species, they develop super fast, right? They're walking, they're moving right away, right out of the gates. Humans don't, because all that energy is actually going into growing the brain. So if you look at why human babies develop so slow in correlation with the horse that comes out of the uterus walking,
yeah, exactly.
All the energy is going to brain growth. And that's kind of where we're at over the last couple 100,000 years.
Yeah. Bison too. I think bison literally like run with their moms on the first day of being born.
Yep. It's because they don't have a frontal cortex that has taken hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, and nutrients to get to where they're at.
Yeah. And people are like, okay, what do I do now? Start eating bone marrow? You could, but you could also just start doing these high quality collagens and bone broths. And you're going to get the marrow from the bones. I know Kettle and Fire, which is the company that they sponsored my podcast for a while. I know they use all the bones in the marrow. People can actually get 20% off. I believe my link, I'll double check it. I'll just do a little plug here. I'll make like $2 if you buy this broth using my discount, but you'll save more than $2. Yeah, so it's evanbrand.com/broth. And if you use that link, you will get 20% off of bone broth. So that's pretty good. I drink it almost weekly. I don't actually drink it by itself, though, to be honest. I just mix it in with soups and recipes and stuff. If I'm doing like a stew crock pot, I'll just add a half carton of it to it. And I've used the other brands like Pacific, the store-bought, big major corporation bone broth. It does not get like Jell-O. When you put the Kettle and Fire in the fridge, it's like you have to scoop it out with a spoon. Like I know that it's much higher quality. You
get a lot more long-chain collagen peptides. Totally. That makes a lot of sense. It's great.
And Louise Gittleman, when I interviewed her for the Candida Summit, she said that she had her team. I guess she has a team kind of like Mercola that goes and investigates stuff for her. And they tested a bunch of different commercial, like organic bone broth companies. And she said also that Kettle and Fire was the only one that passed in terms of not being contaminated with heavy metals. Because apparently, depending on where these animals are grazing, if the soil has heavy metals, and then obviously that's uptaked into the bone like lead, and then you make broth out of it, then you drink the broth, you could be giving yourself lead. But she said that's the only one that she actually drinks. So that was cool to hear.
Very cool. Excellent. Anything else you wanted to answer or address here before we wrap up?
I think we covered it all. I don't have the questions pulled up, so I didn't know if there were any there that you wanted to hit on or not.
I think we're good. I'll just want a little shout out for your summit coming up. Head over to justinhealth.com/candida, justinhealth.com/candida, CANDIDA, for Evan's awesome Candida Summit coming up in the next month. Make sure you subscribe. Really excited to be a guest on that, and really excited for the awesome information that's coming everyone's way.
Make sure you put the link too. Make sure you put that link in this video for people that look it up. So justinhealth.com/candida. Go register for the event. I mean, we've literally already got 30,000 people registered, and it's not even till next month. So if you imagine missing out on 30 of our podcasts together, that's what it's like if you miss out on this event.
Awesome, man. Anything else you want to add today?
Not today. Take care. Reach out, justinhealth.com for Justin if you want to consult, evanbrand.com for me. We'd love to help you out. Take care.
Awesome, Evan. Have a good one, man. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.